This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and good morning, I should say. It is a nice and overcast and cloudy, misty morning here in Juma Private Game Reserve, where the cold front has moved in. The clouds have moved in. There was definitely a front on the way, and it has arrived with very, very light cloud. I am not the only one out and about. Lauren is out as well with Davy, Marcus and Mpho out in Ambion and Gala. Angus and Owen are making their rounds out in Ambion, Pinda, and JP and Johan are on foot in Praatlands. And welcome aboard your live African safari. Hello everybody and good morning. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve with myself, Steve Falkbridge, joined by Morgan on camera. It is a wonderful morning. It's 18 degrees Celsius, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And last night we found tracks of Thandi and Maribs on Cheetah Cut Line. I tracked them into Torchwood and we found Maribs on a fully grown male impala that Hyena had just stolen from him. The tracks indicated that Thandi had made the kill and come to fetch him and then brought him all the way back. And so she'd probably made a kill of a large impala ram, but wasn't able to put it up the tree because it's just a bit too heavy. So she went to go get her son, and on our arrival there, the hyena was feeding on the carcass and Maribs was just looking at it quite annoyingly going, "That's my food." So we're just going to move into that sort of
So we are bumbling about this morning, trying to see whatever will be our way. A very good morning and warm welcome to everyone. Welcome to and Beyond Ngala. I am Marcus Koza, and on camera I've got Mpho. And as I was saying, we are on our bumble. And guess what we found? I see there is a brief visual of one buffalo bull who will try to position for shortly. There he runs away from us. Let's see if we'll be able to get him there. Indeed, it's a very chilly and a misty Ngala for this morning. Let's see if this buffalo here will cooperate.
Yeah, the dark and roll, we've got tracks of female there.
Sorry about that. And there is that lone buffalo bull. A very good question, Christopher. So you would like to know if we get big buffalo heads. Sometimes we do get big buffalo heads, Christopher. Lately, I haven't seen such big heads, though. It's more these individuals that, like the one you've got on screen now, that we get. But yeah, I haven't seen such big buffalo heads this far, but sometimes we do get them up to around between 400 and 500 animals which are quite exciting to watch. So this buffalo bull that we got here, he was on the road as we're driving, but as soon as he saw us, he just ran into those bushes, stopped, and then looked back at us. So you can see that it's just by himself, which is not unusual for these old buffalo bulls. But yeah, this buffalo just being by himself out here, he knows he's vulnerable, so he wasn't that relaxed at all. And yeah, it is during the day, but it's still cooler hours of the morning, so predators might still be out and about trying to hunt and all that. So that's why he has chosen to be in these thickets where he will be able to defend himself. And see how he's looking from side to side there. And with those ox peckers on his attendants, see that sometimes it irritates him. See how he's shaking his head there. There is one ox pecker trying to get something from his ear there. Look at that one. So with these buffalo bulls, they will be with the breeding head up until maybe they're around 10 or so. And that's when the younger bulls that are on their prime, around 7 years, will take over to be the dominant on the head. And so these ones will still trail a breeding head like that, but because now they are old, they are not as agile and they can't really keep up with a breeding head. So these bulls will get left behind like that. Then sometimes we'll find just more than one bull in an area where they'll just form bachelor heads. And so those are the ones that lions will most probably try and go for. All that being said, it's not an easy thing even for lions to take down this sort of buffaloes, because they can defend themselves very well against lions. Even if it is just a lone bull like that, it won't be an easy kill for these lions. You see how he's standing there just chewing some cud. Yeah, that is a very good question, Lega. Like, with these buffaloes, sometimes you will get that warning, but yeah, all that I think it comes down to proximity, where you are in relation to where the animal is, the distance between the two of you. So most of the time, these buffaloes will try and sort of avoid confrontation like that. But if need be, if they now look at you and see you as a threat, chances are they're gonna come for you. And if you are that close, then they won't give a warning. So they'll just go for you, because now they look and see you as a threat, not just another animal that's out in the bush. So it's always a good idea to stay clear of buffalo's way. You see how it's just ruminating there. It's quite a big bull here. I just wanted to see if there might be something that is interested in that direction that is looking at. But I can't see anything. Maybe because of the fact that he is just by himself. doesn't have as many eyes looking out for predators. That might be just this buffalo being alert for the morning. So I'll just continue feeding there and then heading to the nearest water hole for a drink, maybe a little bit later on. And as it starts getting warmer and warmer, he might go find a pond or some pen system that he might go wallow in some mud just to keep cool for the day. So Jerome wants to know if a lone buffalo is more dangerous than a herd. Yeah, to us as humans, Jerome, I think the lone buffalo will be more dangerous than a herd because, as we can see, he looks restless. He's looking from side to side. It's just him and him only in this area. So, of course, he will be on edge because he knows that there are some animals that are after him or will be looking to kill him given a chance. So, I think, yeah, lone buffaloes will be more dangerous to us than to animals. Like, they can still defend themselves against a lot of animals, but most of the time, the buffalo herd would just run away, but when it comes to saving their own, they will just walk on to the predator, try and run him over, stampede, those sort of things. But yeah, I think a lone bull like that. Yeah, so while we leave this buffalo to continue about his morning wool, just continue also doing our bumble. In the meantime, we'll send you over to JP in the Pride Lands, see what he has for us.
Good morning and welcome to Eco Training Pridelands. We're currently at Impala Plains enjoying the views of the number of impala as well as zebra in the distance. My name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we've got Johan. At the moment we're just going to stare and look at what they're busy doing and see what they get up to. It is quite common for us to find large herds of zebra and impala together, and one of the reasons why these animals quite often stick together is for safety in numbers. Zebras also have very good eyesight and tend to alert impala of any approach of any dangerous animals that might appear. But there's also a second reason why they quite often are encountered together. Firstly, zebra has got quite a unique dentition in terms of incisor teeth or cutting teeth on both upper and lower jaw. So therefore they eat much coarser grasses. They open up the grasses and allow the impala to feed on the smaller grasses that was between these coarse grasses. This is the process that's called facilitation. As you can notice, impalas also have much smaller muzzles compared to that of a zebra, which enables them to pick off the finer grasses which was left behind. As we are looking at the impala at the moment, you will notice that we have a large group of rams that's over here on this open area, and we can identify the male impalas by having horns compared to the females that don't have horns. And at this time of the year, when the day length is shortening, we'll start noticing that they start becoming territorial since roughly already from March. These males have now started bachelor herds, where we also see a number of all-female groups scattered across the reserve. We've also noticed that there's a number of individual rams that has already started setting up their own territories. This behavior will continue roughly up until June, sometimes even as far as July, when everybody will meet again and form mixed groups of male and female. Within the next few weeks, we're going to notice an increase in fighting between these rams to obtain territories as well as to gain dominance. So we often see as well that these males will very seldom keep a territory for anything more than 2 weeks. And especially here at the end of the rutting season, the intensity for fighting and to gain access to females along estrus becomes incredibly intense, but some of those males might just last for 5 to 8 days when it comes to obtaining a territory. During this period of time, we'll also notice that these males are so focused on fighting and herding females that there's very little time for them to actually go and eat and drink, and therefore they start losing body condition, and they're quite quickly then overthrown by a younger and stronger little ram that will come in and chase them off. In the meanwhile, we're just going to remain quiet for a few minutes and let you enjoy the sighting. Good morning, Anne, and welcome to the show. I've quite often started observing this behavior with second-year rams, and it's most likely a case that they mirror and mimic the older rams in terms of fighting. Quite often what we do see with animals is that they mirror this behavior of the older ones as preparation for when they are becoming older, so that they can be successfully and strong enough for fighting by that time. Quite often with young animals, when they do fight and when they do play, we quite often see that it's very exaggerated compared to that of the adults. Oh, beautiful. There's a call of a black-backed jackal in the distance. And we also notice that there's a number of impalas that are now starting to stare into the direction of where the potential threat is. So we heard a question on one of the shows in the last few days, up to what size prey can black-backed jackals go. I've seen them hunting anything up to the size of an impala, but normally they will go for sick or weak animals. One of my favorite sightings where I saw a jackal hunting impala was where it chased it over 1.5 kilometers. It eventually ran it down, and it suffocated and killed it by biting it to the throat. In the period of time that it spent it feeding on the impala, it only had the time to go for the organs and for some of the soft meat. It was very quickly mobbed by some vultures, and before long there were 40 or 50 vultures that landed on this impala carcass, driving the jackal off. Soon there was also a number of lions that noticed this commotion with the vultures settling, and within minutes they also arrived on the scene. So did a number of hyenas. Eventually, with the larger predators eventually only getting a piece of the backbone and the skull, which was all that was remaining by the time that the vultures have consumed the carcass. So quite often what we do find is when prey animals detect predators is that they often will stare and that they will also go closer. This is known as a predator inspection, and it's rather better to know where your potential enemy is and keep an eye on him than to lose sight of him. We're going to hang around here a little bit longer, see what these animals get up to, and then continue our walk. But in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Lauren, who would like to say good morning.
Good morning everyone. You have caught us bashing through the bush here. It's a very, very eerie, misty morning this morning, lots of fog, and it's very cool. It's absolutely perfect to catch the predators moving. Now, we're checking the area where, Spiderweb, where we left Shasha last night. He was heading in the direction of Mulwati's old warthog kill. Now, it's not that I 100% think he'll be there, but I thought, let's just check, see what state that kill's in, because Shasha's a youngster. And if we can smell that kill, he may actually climb up the tree and just see what it is and what's left. So we're just going to check. You never know, we might get lucky. I thought Shasha was going to cross south, but he didn't. He went north into this very, very block. So that's what we are up to. The hyena den is not active. I have no words. My heart is broken. There's a kill. I think, is that a dog? It's not. Oh, there's a bird on it. My goodness. Okay, let's get closer. Can you see it? Wow. Now, this is something you don't see every day. I think this could be a tawny eagle. We get asked this question a lot by viewers. Do raptors or vultures come to a kill in a tree from... I was just going to get... Oh, no. No. It flew off. I think that was a tawny eagle. I'm sorry it flew off, everyone. That's fascinating. So in answer to all of your questions, yes. Birds do come to kills hoisted by leopards. This is a very, very old kill. I was just suspicious that Shasha might smell it and, again, as I mentioned, because he's young, be extremely curious and think, what is this? But obviously he hasn't. But this is where we left him. So we will keep working around this area. He may have crossed back to Little Gowrie, but we shall at least try. Apparently I forgot to even say my name. And Darby's name. Darby's on camera. And I'm Lauren. Hammond, you're asking, does Shasha have a sister? Yes, he does. Langa. The two of them. And they're both Sabui's offspring. And one thing I forgot to mention yesterday, and I noticed there was a little bit confusion online. It's not a Shangaan name. So it's not X-A-X-A, Shasha. It's actually S-H-A-S-H-A, Shasha, not Sasha as well. There's a lot of confusion. I saw that, and I probably should have mentioned that. It's actually from the Songa language. The owner who, not the owner, the sort of landowner who named Shasha is from Zimbabwe. And that's where the name actually comes from. It's not a Shangaan name. And it means champion or winner, which is so great. I love it. So yes, I saw lots of confusion on that online. I just thought I would clear it up for you. It is Shah. And his sister is Langa. But she didn't cross over onto Juma yesterday. She stayed very much on the Little Gowrie side. But they're hanging around Gowrie Main, so it's absolutely worth scratching around and seeing if we can see any signs of them. Okay, how do we get out of this block? We're following our very own tracks. I think we'll go this way, Daddy. I think that's where the old tracks lead. Okay, we're going to bash our way and try and successfully get out of this block, and hopefully we'll find some spots.
In preparation for our 14th birthday, we will be lighting up a fire and heading on a special journey down memory lane. Join Lauren and Steve on the 11th of April for a sentimental look through the archives.
The missing cubs have arrived! Holy moly, everyone, this is incredible stuff.
Oh my goodness, everyone. Oh, there's two.
Who better to have as special guests than the Wild Earth co-founders Emily and Graham Wallington. They'll be answering questions about Wild Earth's fascinating journey since its launch in 2007. Following many requests, we've decided to make this event available to everyone, not just explorers. You do, however, need to be registered on the wildearth.tv website. Join us straight after the sunset drive on the 11th of April for what promises to be a remarkable evening.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place that I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's what I'd like to know.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Juma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. At the moment we're viewing a herd of zebra. What we've also noticed that was a large number of oxpeckers was flying in and out of them, cleaning them for ticks. But one of these zebras in the group also has a small little cut at the back, and quite often oxpeckers will also go and feed on the blood that is from these open wounds. Unfortunately it's now moved off and we can no longer see the one that have a small injury, but I'm sure that he will recover quite quickly. The zebras that we see over here is known as a plain zebra. Within South Africa, we've got two different species of zebra. One which is known as a mountain zebra, which we found in the Western Cape region of South Africa. They're slightly larger, more chunky, and if you do see them, you'll notice that they actually have got white underbellies, unlike the plain zebra what we see over here, which has stripes that's running underneath the belly. Another feature that we can use to separate these two species of zebra is the coat pattern, is that you'll find that on the white of a plain zebra, there's a faint black line, which we refer to as a gridiron pattern, which separates the two. We were talking about feeding with zebra quite earlier on and how they open up the area for other herbivores to also benefit. One of the things that we can notice about these zebras is that they're all in an incredibly healthy condition. And especially with this year where we had an incredibly high amount of rainfall and a lot of grass and a lot of food for everybody, we can see how well their body condition is by simply looking at their manes. So quite often when a zebra is ill or starts losing body condition, the mane will start flopping. But when they're in a healthy condition, the mane will always be in an upright position. The other feature that we can look at is on the hips as well. At the back, quite often if the hips start sinking in, then we also know that these animals are not faring so well. Over here, we allow the animals to do what they need to do. We don't supplement them. But those are features which a wildlife manager will look at on smaller reserves where they might need to supplement with feeding. For me, zebras are absolutely fascinating creatures when it comes to their social organization. We generally find that the majority of groups consist out of a single stallion and a number of mares. We also see that we often have all male groups, and it's quite easy to actually separate males from females groups if you just look at their bums. So when you do look at the bum of a zebra next time, you'll notice that males have got a thin, narrow little black stripe between the buttocks compared to that of a female, which has got a broad black band between the buttocks. These males that have these little harem groups, they will defend these females against other males. Good morning. I know that will be a question that I'm not going to have an answer to you. But yes, impala is one of the most predated species. It forms an incredibly important prey item for many of the larger herbivores. If I remember, with a species such as wild dog, up to 80% of their prey consist of impala. But in terms of a survival number for young, I will unfortunately not be able to provide you with an answer, and I'll see if I can maybe go and read up something today on it and find an answer for you. We're still staring at two impala rams that are looking directly at us. But in the meanwhile, we've also detected some crested francolins, which is alarm calling, and we would like to go and follow up on those disturbances. Maybe we can get lucky with another predator. And in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Steve.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, we've returned from Torchwood. We did find little Maribs in the drainage line there on his own. Hyena had completely finished his kill that he never managed to, or Tiny's kill, he never managed to hoist. But unfortunately, deep in the drainage there, we're unable to show you. So we're back onto Juma. We're going to go follow up on tracks of a herd of buffalo that I saw coming south from Juma Dam, Vuyatela Dam. See where they've headed to. Very nice and gloomy morning. I'm also going to do some birding. So here, let's have a look at these Swansons here. They're going to maybe have a little bit of a boxing match. Two Swansons and a Natal spur fowl on the left there, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Natal spur fowl. Natal spur fowl. Swanson spur fowl. Slightly different sizes. The Swansons are a little bit bigger. They're characterized by that very red face, black legs. And the Natal spur fowl's got orange beak and orange legs. Gonna fluff himself up, show himself how big he is. See, with these ground birds, there's still plenty of food. There's still potential for them to have more clutches, even at this late stage. I saw some tiny, tiny little francolins pop out the other day. They must have just hatched. After that, I'll just do them under a bush, a little scrape under the tree, pretty much anywhere in the dense vegetation here. all the francolins very similar. The spurfowl, very similar nest, same to the guinea fowl. Well concealed. Very misty morning. It's wonderful, actually. I got my second jacket in anticipation. And at least they do fly. They don't fly very well. They generally go up a little bit, and then majority of the flight is down. They spend most of the time walking. And that enables them to become a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger. Means that they can lower their quality of food intake. They can survive off a lower sort of nutrient requirement than a smaller bird. Birds that fly around all the time require enormous amounts of energy to sustain such activity. So these fellows have evolved to walk around. They can, when startled, fly, but for the most part they walk. Quite interesting. I didn't actually know that in the wild these two species have actually been known to hybridize, the Natal and the Swansons, so that would be quite an interesting mixture. Orange legs and a red face. Well, we're going to send you over to Lauren. I think she maybe want to go and see if she can get some signal with Maribs.
Favorite bird alert. The green-backed heron. I can't hear a starling though. Can't see it, but I can hear a starling. Now Darby and I love this bird. It's also sometimes called the striated heron, but greenback definitely sounds better. It's getting ready for breakfast. It's a cold morning, so if you're warm-blooded, if you're endothermic like us, how do we warm up? Well, we drink lots of coffee and tea, but we also eat. It fuels your metabolism. Our internal body temperature is always maintained at a constant temperature, same with birds, but you need to fuel that, and the fuel is food. So although it's a cold morning, this little guy is hungry. And that's what they do. They stay remarkably still. He's in the water, but he's staying still in order to not disturb the water column. Fish can detect the smallest movements in water. They can detect vibrations. So the more he moves, the more the fish will know, there's a predator in the water. We're not going anywhere near that side of the dam. So he stays still. He's got a really long neck. You can't actually see that right now, but he's able to stretch out his neck and dart in with that really sharp beak and catch some fish. Such a great bird. Calvin, I'm not really sure how you would determine better hunter. They hunt in very similar techniques. They're obviously closely related. They're both herons. So the grey heron is much larger, of course, much taller, much longer legs, but it's the exact same technique. So I'm not sure I could say one was better than the other, I'm afraid. It's that fisherman technique where they stand in the water still, remarkably still. And the grey herons have got great patience I used to spend a lot of time with them in Maldives where they would target bait balls. And you can see the bait ball from the surface. It's very shallow water. And what they want to do is stand so still that the bait ball moves towards him and the fish don't know he's there. So they're just going to continue swirling around like a tornado around him. And then, of course, he can just dart that really sharp beak in and swallow as many of the tiny little fish, the silver sides, as he can. So it's the same technique. The minute he moves and splashes about, it's game over. It's ambush hunting, really. It's the sort of heron version of what a leopard does. Stay still. Not trying to camouflage, but he's trying to be invisible. We can see them from the top side, but it's not the top side he's worried about, it's the underside. It's the fish he doesn't want to know that he's there. He's not worried about what's happening above the water. He's deeply concerned about what's happening under the water. No, now we're on a mission. Where are we going? We obviously were not happy at that part of the dam. Beach girl, the green herons, sorry, now I'm getting confused between my herons. The green-backed herons, no, they're not. They're not migratory. They're a fairly common all-year-round resident. So we will see them all year round, and that's probably what we're going to be left with, I'm afraid. A lot of the migrants have gone. I have spotted a woodland kingfisher already this morning, but I haven't seen a cuckoo since I've been back. Wahlbergs, eagles, gone. Lots of the migrant birds have disappeared. The weavers have all disappeared, which is terribly sad. But now, from sort of April onwards, it's really just the residents that we're going to see until next year, I'm afraid. I think we've lost sight of our bird now. Oh no, just slowly. If I reverse, will I get him, Davy?
He's going to come into frame.
Oh, Davy's hoping that he's going to come into frame. I'm not entirely sure, Davy.
Yeah.
This is like Morgan and I trying to find the chameleon last night. Okay, we're going to bumble east and see if we get lucky in that corner of the world, and we're going to send you guys over to Pridelands.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Trading Pridelands. We continued our walk and we also discovered another little field sign right over here. And if you look closer, there's a large amount of hair, but also a number of bone fragments. This was left by a hyena. So hyena is regarded to be one of the animals with the strongest jaws, but also one of the strongest digestive systems. They also believe that they can even digest enamel. However, the one thing that they cannot digest is keratin, and that is hairs right over here. What we also often see what they do is that they will regurgitate these balls of hair with bone fragments to prevent that the bone fragments can harm the stomach. We also see a very similar type of behavior with a number of bird species, for example owls, where they will also regurgitate the fur as well as the bones of small little rodents that they ate to prevent that the stomach becomes punctured by these sharp objects. One of the fascinating things for me about hyenas is that they can also eat quite a large amount of bone. And what we see with the bone quite often is that the deposits of it and the droppings also has a lot of white powdery substance, just like the powdery substance that we see over here from the bone. This has obviously been driven over by a vehicle or been stepped on by something else and therefore been considerably flattened. In general, when we do look at different field signs that the hyenas leave, one of these will be these bone fragments and the hairballs as we see over here. Another will be the feces, which we'll see that has been deposited. And quite often, when they have had large amounts of blood and meat in their meal, it will be darker in color. However, most of the times when there's a large amount of bone in it, they will also then have more or whiter color due to the calcium. What I do find fascinating is that we have two species of tortoises in this area, which quite often will feed on the feces of hyena. Some of the other field signs that we often will be finding, which I'm always keeping my eyes open for, is the smear marks, which they leave on grasses. And quite often you will notice hyenas squatting over a grass and dragging its anal gland on a branch to specifically mark its territory. In the case of a spotted hyena, it's a single smear, which has a single color. But when we get to brown hyenas, which is more typical of a western half of South Africa, that will be a black and white smear. Good morning, Justin. Hyenas will basically use anything that's available in their favor. And there's a misconception about them that they will more often scavenge, which is actually not true. They tend to be just as successful in terms of hunting, and they will utilize what is available, as I mentioned already. I also have seen them in times when there isn't sufficient amount of food available, especially after rain, that they will even go and feed on old carcasses that has become damp and shown interest in those as well. It's reckoned that hyenas can eat up carcasses up to 3 weeks old. I can't think that it would be good for anybody else's stomach, but however, they don't suffer any ill effects from it. From here, we're going to continue and see what we can find. But in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Marcus, who's in Ngala.
Yeah, welcome back to the Misty and Beyond Ngala, everyone. So we are still bumbling about, and we have got some updates about some lions. That is what we are hoping to go and find. We know the general area of where they say these lions were last seen this morning. So because it is still this misty, so it is a little bit chilly, that can for these animals a little bit of movement even in the day. So animals like these lions that we are hoping to go and find, so there is a good chance that we might find them still being active, even though most of the time in a day like this you might find that they are just resting. But also, all of that depends on the need to move. So if there is a need to move, they will definitely move. But if they don't really have to move, they will try and get a good area or area where they'll find enough shade to rest. So that's where we are headed at the moment. It's a bit of a distance from where we are now. So you never know, being out in the bush like this, the bush is full of surprises. So you might find some other surprises on the way before we even get to those lions. It might be other lions, it might be anything really. That's the beauty of the African bush. Yeah, so Melissa would like to know if lions are very active in this kind of weather. So Melissa, yes and no. Like I have mentioned, if they don't need to move, maybe if they were successful during the night, they have a good area that they can rest. They've got maybe water close by. They won't really have to move. But if they are hungry, they were not as successful, then there is a need to hunt. So that's where this weather plays a role in these lions' movements. So they might get active because they won't lose as much energy because it's not that sun, it's not that hot yet. So I think the only advantage that they might get from the weather like this is that it will stay a bit cooler, at least into the day. So yeah, let's see how misty it is in front. So hopefully these lions that we are hoping to go view, we'll find them moving, or if there is a need for a hunt, we'll find them still being up and active, try and stalk these animals. That will actually be cool to watch. Sorry, can you go again with the question? Tennessee wants to know what's the best thing that I have found when I'm out on drive. Well, there's quite a few, Tennessee, but the one that stood out for me was when I found 4 porcupines in an area at night. That was quite something to see, and I had seen porcupines before, but not more than one of them, or sorry, not more than 2 in an area. That time when we find 1 adult and 3 youngsters, it was very special to see. So I think amongst other things, that's one of my best finds thus far. I mean, there will be plenty more being still in the bush like this. So like we mentioned time and again, that there are some things that we can show to you as viewers, and you think that we get used to those sort of things, but we don't. Most of these things surprise us and intrigues us as much as they do to our viewers back home. However, one thing I would like to see is a kill.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Tswalu. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Tswalu's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
Look at what we have found. That's the giraffe that is feeding high up that tree. And it's just by himself. So that is a male giraffe, by the way. So if Mpo can try to zoom in on those horns, or sequences they are affectionately known, you see how bold they are on top. So that's how you will tell a male from a female at a distance. Like if you've got some binoculars, you will be able to pick that up. And yeah, he's just by himself, which also for this giraffe, it's not unusual if you find a male like that just by himself, just in attendance by a few oxpeckers. I also saw a drongo also close, flying close to that male giraffe for these insects that he might disturb while walking. So he's busy feeding. I'm sure if the viewers at home can see that tree that the giraffe is feeding on. That is a thorn tree actually, so it has some thorns, but it looks like that giraffe couldn't really be bothered there. You went to the other side, not that easy, but you can see him through those bushes. Still feeding on that tree. So a fun tree like that, it is very nutritious for this giraffe. So Nola would like to know if a giraffe diet change in different environments. No, Nola, I think a giraffe's diet doesn't really change. They will always browse like that. So of course they will take different sort of trees, and some will be more nutritious than others, like that one that it's feeding on now. But that being said, that tree has got some thorns that can use to protect itself against overbrowsing. But a giraffe like that, so it has got that narrow muzzle, and also that giraffe has got some tough lips which he will use when feeding, and they also do have a long tongue that also helps with that. And the giraffe's tongue is a bit rubbery, if I can put it like that, so that also helps. It's not as easy for these thorns to poke through that giraffe's tongue. And I'm sure now you can't really see them, but there were some impalas also close to this giraffe, of which also they would benefit being close to that giraffe, because giraffes are inquisitive like that. And so this one is just concentrating and feeding for now, and you can see that oxpecker in between the ossicles there. So as we walked in here, that giraffe was staring straight at us for a long time. I'm sure he made his investigation, find that we are not threatened, and is just going about his day. But giraffe with that height advantage who are able to see predators from a good distance. And since they are inquisitive, they will be looking at a particular distance for a longest of time. So if you see that with giraffes, sometimes they might even walk towards where the threat is. And as a result, those impalas that were here earlier will benefit from that giraffe, because they will be able to spot things from a good distance. And you can now see that tree just shaking. You can hardly see the giraffe anymore. Looks like he's having a time of his life there. And you see that beautiful white on the ears? Isn't that just majestic? You can see those eyelashes through those bushes there. Yes, it looks like that giraffe is quite happy where he is, quite happy feeding. He doesn't look like he's in a rush to get anywhere, so we'll just leave him there to his day while we continue with ours. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Juma. Let's see what Steve has got in store for us.
Well, welcome back, Marcus. I'd love to see what it means or what a giraffe shows when he's having the time of his life. Anyway, everybody, we have found a buffalo scat dropping on the other side there of a dead scrub hare. Now, we got halfway to the scrub hare and we reversed back, because last time I found something like this, there was actually an African wildcat hiding in the thickets nearby. And so we're hoping, if we've got the patience, that it might come out. I haven't gone. Last time I actually got out, I had a look to see what had killed the scrub hare, and then the cat ran away. So now I haven't even looked if there's tracks. Last time we'd seen tracks, I'd seen the bite mark on the head. I was almost certain. Now it seems to be a very similar sort of idea. Obviously, we don't like to influence these animals in any way, and if the wildcat wants to get its meal, it must get it. But in saying that, there are buffalo tracks or dung just on the other side of the scrub hare. But I don't think buffaloes would have trampled the scrub hare. I don't think that is likely, but you never know. It doesn't look very trampled. Kenya, of course, everything dies of natural causes. It's probably the highest mortality rate in all species is natural causes. But out here, I think many of them actually do get eaten and hunted. But many, many animals will actually live out their days. But in the wild, generally what happens is that the age of an animal gets to a point where their fitness starts to deteriorate. They become easier to catch. So, not sitting on their porch telling old age stories, although some of them probably could. The lifespan of these animals is obviously not very long. There's lots of predation out here, lots of animals that like to eat them and kill them. But for the scrubhead to have just somehow walked out into the road and just gone flop onto the floor, it's unlikely. You know, natural causes, generally, an animal dies in its sleep. You would think some form of just ailment or age. Many animals, when they are not feeling well, often will go hide away somewhere. They don't normally come out into the open like this. I'm going to give it a few minutes. Maybe a wildcat or some sort of predator like that might sneak out of the bush there and grab it. I've given it about 35, 40 meters, Morgan? So we don't have any rush either. James, time to put the patient pants on. If only I had some coffee to while away the time and a good book. Oh, hang on, I do. We have got all the patience in the world. Orange Brisser Bushreich calling in the background. I have learned, everybody, years ago that if ever you are going to do some administrative task, be it going to the driver's license department or home affairs in South Africa, it is normally a very arduous task, everybody. I don't know about the rest of the world, but in South Africa, going and getting your vehicle license renewed or your driver's license renewed or your passport often can be a very, very long and tedious process. So I learned years ago to always go to those places with snacks, coffee, water, and a book, preparing yourself for a long haul. And then it always happens that you go straight to the front, everything gets sorted out quick, and you're gone. But then you make the mistake of thinking that that will happen again, and you arrive there unprepared, and you will sit for a very long time. So I actually quite enjoy waiting. There's always time to reflect and to sit and observe. It's taken me practice, though. So we'll give it some time, see if anything emerges out. We'll then go have a look at some tracks. Common, I mean, there's many animals eat them and kill them. We don't often find many of them just lying on the road. I found one, I can't remember when it was though, a few months ago. Very similar situation. And I got out to investigate and noticed that it had definitely got a puncture wound around the neck and head. And then a wildcat that wasn't far off from us ran away. So, you know, unfortunately out in these wilderness areas, you do also have scrub hares that get hit by cars sometimes at night. But he doesn't look like he's been hit by a car, doesn't have the same sort of damage. And there's also no fresh vehicle tracks from last night. You can see where my car tracks have stopped and turned and reversed back. There's no fresh vehicle tracks right on the spot. And if this was hit by a car, it would have been last night, and no doubt something would have found it already. Nothing lies dead for very long in the African wilderness. So most of the scrub hair remains we find is just fluff and tail. Sometimes I found a foot, but that's generally from when something has eaten them. Here I think something is preparing to eat this fellow. Well, we're going to wait it out and send you over to Lauren.
I'm going to guess a hyena, Steve. A hyena's going to come. Darby just gave us some beautiful, creative, artistic views of this web. But we have actually stopped because it's a really unusual looking web. It's almost like those fake ones you buy for Halloween to put up around your house. And it's stunning. Of course, the air around us is just thick with moisture. It's definitely not mist today, it's fog. And it's not lifted. It normally starts to lift as the sun comes up, but it's really thick. And of course, the moisture, the water droplets, attach themselves to the webs suspended in the air. And this is when you get this beautiful, very creative looking web. I don't see a spider on this web. It's not a structure of the golden orb spiders, that's for sure. They don't design their web that way. But you can see all the little food parcels. Oh, there's a golden hue there, Davy. Well spotted. That yellow could be from an orb. And you see all the little food parcels that have been wrapped up. But I don't see the owner. Isn't that just spectacular? Viola, there's no real way to tell, I'm afraid. I couldn't possibly judge the age of a web. I'm afraid. It's definitely a large one, so the size would make me think it's a little bit older. I wonder if it's a sort of conglomerate of many webs all together, and that's why it looks so messy. But I'm sorry, I'm really not able to age webs, I'm afraid. Some species can construct webs very quickly in a matter of hours. For some species, it takes a really long time. Some species make a new web every single day, and other species use the same web their entire lifetime. So I'm really not sure, but it's stunning. It's just amazing to think a small little organism, okay, the orb weavers are slightly bigger, but still they create this structure. And it's not random. Each web has a pattern, each web has a structure. If you think of the way the golden orb webs create there, they change the color, they change the hue. Then you think of the tropical tent web spiders. They make little tents. It's not random. They don't just pull out the silk and create a random structure. It's all very sort of designed in a specialized way to suit that particular species' needs. Okay, we're going to keep bumbling through the fog and we're going to send you guys across to JP.
And good morning to Wild Earth, to those viewers that's just joined us. And we are at Eco Training Pridelands. And at the moment, we're looking at a large amount of damage that was created yesterday by some elephants. As we walked past this area yesterday, there was no damage to these trees. And how we know that it's elephant is they always leave this characteristic frayed edges that almost looks like a brush once they've fed on a branch. Some of the other things that we can notice is also a large number of branches has been dropped to the ground. And one of these is a branch that I've just picked up. And when elephants do feed, we often watch them that they will use their trunk, which is also a very complex muscle that consists out of a number of main groups with over 100,000 units. And it's also something that they have to learn to use eventually so that they can manipulate food particles. So they'll break off a branch, and quite often what we'll see is that they will pull it through the molar teeth. So with elephants, they do have 6 sets of molars on each jaw. These molars won't be present all at once, and they will start replacing one another over a period of time until they eventually reach the age of 60. When they get to the last set of these 6 molars, often where elephants can no longer feed successfully and often end up starving from not being able to get a sufficient amount of nutrition. Also, something that we also often look at, which I'm often asked, how do I know that this wasn't a giraffe? So when it comes to giraffe, they use their tongues to strip off the leaves from the tip of branches, and they don't leave any visible markings, such as that the elephant would do. Another question when I ask is, how often do I know that it's not black rhino, which is also a browser or leaf eater and twig eater? Our answer is very simple. We'll often notice on the branches where they've been eaten, but there is a very unique and neat, almost 45-degree angled cutting that's been left due to the configuration of their molar teeth. As mentioned previously, elephants do need to feed a lot, and we see them often that they'll spend up to 21 hours of their day consistently feeding to be able to support these incredibly large bodies of theirs. Good morning, Justin, and welcome to the show again. They're actually flat. And a flat surface also assists with the grinding down of the plant material that they eat before it enters the stomach, which is also very poor at digesting plant material. And this is why we often find large pieces of material in the dung. And meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Steve, who's busy looking at a scrub hare, or dead scrub hare.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, you haven't missed anything. Our scrub hare hasn't moved. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, then we'll move on. See if we can find where these buffalo have gone. The dung on the other side of that scrub hare there looks pretty fresh, but the tracks, I reckon, are going west from there. Scrub hare do form diet for serval, caracal, black mamba a few years ago, ray, leopard, lion, hyena even, wildcat, genet, owls. Plenty of them around. Provide food for a wide variety of predatory species. So 50, what happened last time is that the wildcat made a kill and I came driving along and it obviously heard me and moved off into the thicket. Then I went and investigated, because that's what we do. We try to find out what happened, and then I noticed the tracks, and then I noticed the bite mark, and then when I moved again, a wildcat ran out of the grass not far from where we were. So what I'm thinking is the same stories happen here, is that this We haven't checked tracks, we haven't gotten out, we haven't gone closer than 10, 15 meters when you stopped and reversed back. So I don't even know if a wildcat's tracks are there. I don't even know if it has been killed the way a wildcat would kill. But my feeling is that, the wildcats aren't generally always very relaxed here. They are very wild. And so any sort of noises or sounds that are a little bit overwhelming, they'll just move off from. But it won't have left it. It'll be very close by, watching. It's like with that last one. I eventually left and came back half an hour later, and the kill was gone. So either that was from a bird of prey, which is very possible, but I think the wildcat was close enough and just snuck in and grabbed its meal and then ran off again. So our patience spans, we're hoping to just suddenly see this cat emerge out of the thickets there. But with wild cats, wild leopards that have not been habituated, they are very rarely seen. More so in the cover of darkness than in broad daylight. It's their nature, and their secretive nature.
In preparation for our 14th birthday, we will be lighting up a fire and heading on a special journey down memory lane. Join Lauren and Steve on the 11th of April for a sentimental look through the archives.
The missing cubs have arrived!
Holy moly, everyone, this is incredible stuff.
Oh my goodness, everyone. Oh, there's two.
Who better to have as special guests than the Wild Earth co-founders Emily and Graham Wallington. They'll be answering questions about Wild Earth's fascinating journey since its launch in 2007. Following many requests, we've decided to make this event available to everyone, not just explorers. You do, however, need to be registered on the wildearth.tv website. Join us straight after the sunset drive on the 11th of April for what promises to be a remarkable evening. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
So I mentioned there are updates of lions around this area somewhere. I believe we are not too far from where those lions were seen. So there is that lioness with her 3 cubs that we hadn't seen in the last little while. So we got updates this morning that she's somewhere in this area here. So she is the one that we are hoping to go find. Hopefully those youngsters will be playful, because of these lion cubs, more often than not, they are very playful, unlike all the lions at this time of the day. So the mist is now gone and the sun it's up, so it's getting a bit warmer and warmer. But also, you know, the youngsters, all they need to worry about is just suckling from the mom, so they don't really need to conserve as much energy, and they will still need to train their muscles. So that playing actually does help them a great deal with developing those muscles that they will need later in their lives. So the mother, however, would want to conserve some energy, but because these cubs tend to be playful and sometimes they want to play with the mother, and time and again you will see her when they try and suckle, she will suckle them, but sometimes she'll just flip over to the other side, just so they can just let her be rest, try and conserve energy. Because if the female is lactating, it does stresses her in a way. So she will need to do a lot more hunting than she will usually. So as you can see, that's the other car that found these lions for us. Can you go again with a question for me? Yeah, Kendall, that's a very interesting question actually. I think youngsters of any species of animals tend to be playful, some more than others. But yeah, I think like comparing the two doesn't really do justice to the both species. So I think all youngsters that tend to be that playful. So I don't really think that lions are more playful than elephants. I just think that youngsters are more playful. Very good. There we are. As you can see, all three of those cubs are suckling now. And you see how mom is just lying on the shade there feeding these babies. So that is what these cubs will be doing. They'll be suckling like that, and then they will be playing with each other. They will be trying playing with mom, sometimes just grabbing her by the tail. Sometimes she does get a bit agitated. But yeah, time and again they'll just be playing, circling, and playing with each other, because that also helps with their bonds. busy circling there. They don't really think about all the stress that mom is taking. And we also got reports that there is a male in this area. So it will be quite interesting where the male is in relation to where these ones are now. And if you look carefully on that female's belly, she doesn't look that well fed at all. And so she has this 3 to worry about. So maybe come night time she'll just go hide them somewhere and then try going hunting. I couldn't agree with you more. They are cute, aren't they? Stunning, and also to see all 3 of them circling there at once. But yeah, there are 2 females and a male amongst those 3 cubs. So from now on there will be things that mommy will be teaching them. Then they'll have to learn. Being young cubs like that, they're still intrigued with many things. So sometimes we'll just see them taking some branches, chewing them, and that helps with the development of their jaws that they will need later on in their life. So, Patience, if I get that correctly, you want to know how often must this lioness feed in order to keep lactating for the little ones? So, as often as possible, because for as long as she's in a good condition, she's well fed time and again, then she will be lactating for those youngsters to feed. So if maybe she had no youngsters, she wouldn't really have to feed as much. But now, because of all that stress, it will also depend on the type of prey species that she gets. If she gets something small, then she might need to hunt even the very same day or even a day after. But if she does get something big that she might feed on, and it will last, and then maybe try and guard that carcass. So that's more the killings that she will need to do. So like, I wouldn't really put a number to it on the number of times that she has to feed, because that also depends on the species. But yeah, she really needs to feed as often as possible. As you can see, those youngsters looks like they do have a bit of an appetite there. The one looks like it might have had enough, but the other 2 looks as they're still hard at it. And at a time like this, now the sun it's up, so that lioness would want to conserve what's left of her energy there, so that come sunset she will be able to hunt. But all that said and done, if any prey species was to walk into this area, that lioness might even try and feed in or hunt. Because remember, these lions are opportunistic. So I don't think she will put much effort on hunting, especially at a time like this. But if hunting opportunity presents itself, she will definitely grab it. nature enthusiasts, those other pride members where the wild ones are actually very far from here. However, there are other members that we believe they might be very close, maybe a kilometer or two away. And this area is quite close to that riverbed where we believe there is a lioness with very young cubs that she might be denning in. So, yeah, these Birmingham Pride members are pretty much scattered everywhere at the moment. Reason being that there are a lot of cubs around at the moment, and also there is the factor of the Taurus males. So those ones with the white members, most of the time they keep away from these ones, or the other way around actually. These lionesses with the cubs will try and isolate themselves, because pride members are very playful, more like these youngsters. So they're very interested in playing with the youngsters, and most of the time they will underestimate the power that they've got over these young ones, and then sometimes we find that they will hurt them unintentionally, thinking they're still playing with them. So until they're strong enough, these lionesses will try to keep them away from the rest of the pride. And also with all that lactating that she has to do, like if she can get something maybe like even a diker, it might be enough for her and her only. But if you think about it, if she gets something, maybe they get an impala, and it's all of them, like 23 lions altogether, that won't really get far. If anything, those males might claim it to themselves, even to the exclusion of the lionesses that are doing this killing most of the time. Looks like these youngsters might have decided to rest after all. They don't really look like they're gonna give us a show there. So Randy would like to know if lionesses are really good at hunting alone. Yes, Randy, lionesses are very good, are exceptional when it comes to hunting. So it's just that it will come down to odds when it's just one animal hunting alone, because as you might know, these lion prides hunt strategically, so they use each other to get into positions before going at an animal. So if she's alone, obviously she has the know-how, so that will work to her advantage. But if there are just a couple of lionesses around, all of them will be that exceptional in hunting. So chances are far better when they're in numbers than one animal alone like that. But yeah, these lionesses are quite good at hunting. At a distance, there are some impalas that are walking past and not too far from where we are. But I'm not really sure what the wind is doing at the moment. So I'm not sure who between the impala and the lions can smell the other. But those impalas didn't really give an alarm back, so I think they might not have seen these lions or even smell them. Yeah, this lioness as well doesn't look like she's got any idea of those impalas walking past here, because as you can see, she's lying down flat there. I'm just hoping for those cubs to get up and give us a bit of action. Stacy would like to know how to tell between a female and male cubs. So Stacy, other than the obvious, which is their genitals, with these ones, you can really tell if they are standing up. The male looks a little bit bigger than the two females. But other than that, it will have to go down to their genitals, because with males, obviously males with age develop that mane, but before they get to that age where the mane can be developed, it's pretty hard to tell just by looking at them. So size will be one thing. And that female look really flat there. So you might find that during the night she might have walked long distances trying and hunt, and by the look of things she wasn't successful. So she came back into this area, maybe went to where she had hid those cubs, and then fetch them, bring them into this area, and then feeding them. But that being said, she herself is taking a strain from feeding these youngsters while she hasn't been that successful in hunting, because we haven't been seeing these ones in a last while. I'm not sure when last she might have fed. So we're gonna spend a couple more minutes with these lions, see what they get up to. Hopefully these cubs will be up and active and showing us a bit of action.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place that I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to go.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it? Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
I love being a cam op for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Now the fog is lifting, but slowly. The sun is out, and we found a raptor. And I think it's a tawny eagle. Could possibly be a steppe. They're very, very similar. You look at the gape, you look at the size, and you look at the legs. But from here, it's very difficult for me to tell. It's far away, and of course, we've got the fog to deal with, but I think it's a tawny. And wasn't it just fascinating to see the tawny eagle on Mulwati's old warthog kill? That's the first time I've seen that. A raptor coming into the trees to scavenge from an old leopard kill that's been hoisted. But we're in Buffelshoek, and hopefully we're going to find some lions very soon. Perfect day for predators to still be mobile. Oh, I just love tawny eagles. They're probably the eagle with the widest range of colour morphs. So you really get such an array, such a sort of palette of colours when it comes to the tawnies. You get the pale morph, the dark morph, and everything in between. Oh, someone's joined a tawny. A drongo, I think. Is it a drongo or starling? Look at the size difference. It's a starling. You can see the way the tawny's got its back to us. So it's twisting its head almost all the way around, and it's looking. They're highly, highly visual. They find their food using their eyes, not through chemoreceptors, through eyesight. Critter freak, you can see that mist, can't you? It's lovely. But the sun's burst through, just happened moments ago, which means all the moisture in the air will evaporate naturally, which lifts the fog and lifts the mist. But it's definitely still present and it's beautiful. It makes for such an eerie morning when you're driving out in the fog and it's so thick you can't really see everything that's going on around you. It completely reduces your visual capacity. Tony's having a good look at what's going on underneath him. I mean, if we sat up on that branch, I mean, the branch would snap for starters if I sat up there, but if I was that high, I would not be able to see a bushveld gerbil running around the ground below me, but yet the tawny can. Also snakes.
Okay, I'm going to leave this Tony and Bumble because we're searching for some lions. Another apex predator.
Welcome back to and Beyond Gala, everyone. So looks like these cubs are still circling. So from the previous position of the lioness, she had just flipped over to the other side, and those cubs, so all of them just going for it. Look at that one, it is busy circling, yet looking away at the bushes in front of it. Oh, not so much now. So when I saw all three of them earlier getting up, I thought it was about time we got our action. But it just looked like they were just following Mommy's red lens to circle again. You can see that. So Casey would like to know how much milk will these cubs drink. I am actually not sure, Casey. Like, I wouldn't really want to put a number to that. But as you can see, they're still youngsters. They don't even have as developed teeth, so they will need to keep in shape. So they will need to suckle for as long as possible, because at that age they know the taste of blood and all that. Like, this female can now take them to the carcasses when she kills, but with the small teeth they are hardly equipped to tear into flesh. So most of the time you just see them licking the animals when they get into an area where there is a carcass. You'll just see them licking at blood. They'll try and play around, try and chew something, but from what I've seen, they haven't been that successful at chewing the meat. So they rely more on the milk than they rely on meat. So I don't really know how many liters, if I can call it that, they might need a day. But yeah, they will need to suckle, stay in good shape. And with time, when their jaws develop, when their teeth develop, then they won't really need to suckle as much. That's when they will be weaned and start turning into eat-meeting carnivores that they are. They say that white part of Mommy, the leg, that is something that if maybe you are walking in the bush and you find these lions sleeping at an area like this where there is some tall grass that is dry, it looks more like these lions in color. So that's one of the things that you would be looking for at a distance, because that you will be able to pick up. And sometimes even the tail switching, that black tip of the tail, it's something that you might be able to pick up. So when walking in the bush like this, it's always worth scanning ahead with your binoculars. It's always worth stopping and just listening, because sometimes these animals are not that quiet. You know, you'll hear a bit of growls, especially with these youngsters. If they try and play with a head, sometimes you'll give some growling sounds. So it's always worth listening when you're out in the bush. And yeah, looks like those movements that we'll see here is those cubs trying and circle time and again. So in the meantime, we'll send you over to JP in the Pride and see what they has for us, and we'll just leave this area.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We've been having a lot of fun looking at a number of different things on our walk this morning and trying to find some more interesting things. As we progressed, we actually found a number of giraffe that's busy feeding. For those of you that haven't known how to separate males from females, we currently have two big bull giraffe in front of us. So if you notice, they're quite tall, they're incredibly thick-necked, and they also then have bare little tips to their ossicones, the horn-like structures on top of the head, which is an indication that these are males. One of the things that I do find quite interesting in males is that they often will spend a large amount of time busy trailing female herds and groups to see if there's any cows in estrus. Now, unlike the females, which are incredibly selective about the quality of food that they eat to try and get their body condition up so that they can go into estrus, the males will very rapidly eat and then move off. They're only interested in getting themselves filled and provided with the necessary energy. For the rest of the time, they're going to spend time looking for the ladies as well as fighting with one another to get access to females that are in estrus. Quite often when we do find a number of bulls trailing a group of cows, it's quite fascinating to see how they can fight. The process is what we call necking, and the aim is to push your opponent off balance. This is one of the reasons why giraffes have actually evolved incredibly long necks, and not for feeding purposes. But the benefit that they gain from an incredibly long neck by pushing over an opponent also benefit them in their feeding, where they can outfeed a number of other herbivores, with the exception of elephant. Here, one of our bulls are going to start moving across into the open. This is an incredibly dark individual that's coming into the open here. Quite often what we do find is that older bulls tend to be darker in coloration. However, one of the darkest giraffes I've still seen till date is actually a female. So it's also genetics, where there's a large amount of melanin inside, which obviously influences the coat pattern. This is quite often due to a double recessive gene that's been received from both parents. In the meanwhile, I would like to show you how they're busy feeding. So if you will notice, this bull right in front of us is often pushing its tongue out and then basically stripping the leaves off the tip of the branches and then using the mouth to pull off the leaves from the tip of that little branch. Just above the giraffe's head, you can also notice how those thin little edges of the branch have already been stripped from the leaves. So they do eat quite a wide range of different plant materials, but one of the things that I find particularly fascinating is that they can eat incredibly thorny plants without sustaining any injury. And this is due to incredibly thick leathery lip, a very unique type of saliva that they have as well, which basically allows a thorn to just be deflected off the tongue without damaging it. I've personally ended up in a knobthorn acacia, at times sitting on the tracker seat, and the damage that a knobthorn can create onto a human being is quite painful. It leaves little cuts of up to 0.5 centimeter deep. And I just find it fascinating that a giraffe is not affected at any way. Another trait that they have is incredibly long eyelashes, which will also protect the eyes from thorns while they're busy feeding. They can also at times eat incredibly toxic plants, and some of these plant species that they will feed on is tambuti, which has got a milky white latex. They can often also be used as a fish poison. The plant that they're currently eating on is looking like a low-felt cluster leaf, also known as a purple pod cluster leaf. Good morning, Sarah, and welcome to the show. Yes, according to recent research, they do assist with regulating the temperature. One of the documentaries which actually provides quite a nice inset on this thermoregulation and the pattern is a production that's made by one of the zoological research bodies within the UK. And the program is known Inside Nature's Beast. If you can get hold of it and you can stomach most of the content in the program, they do provide a number of fascinating aspects about giraffe and a number of other different species of animals. Other than just also assisting with the temperature, it also makes it quite effective in the shape being broken up when there's dappled light coming through a tree and blending it in with a shade, as what you can see in front of you. I've always found it fascinating with giraffe and elephant that they can be so quiet when they move, although the one is the tallest land mammal and the other is the heaviest land mammal on the planet. What we also will notice is quite often when they are feeding, they're feeding directly into the wind. And you'll see that they will feed for a short period of time on that specific branch of a tree and then move off. Especially with plants which belongs to the Combretum family, such as the purple pot cluster leaf that they were eating, and a number of the thorny plant species have adaptations where they will release chemicals to make the plant unpalatable, and therefore they'll move on to the next plant. What they've also found through studies is that the plants can actually warn one another by giving off a chemical into the air, and in response to that, that plant will also then start increasing its tannin levels, therefore pushing the giraffe to go and feed somewhere else. We're going to sit here for a little bit longer and enjoy the sighting, but in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Steve.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, we found where our buffalo were sleeping, and now we've got two options. They've either gone back to Tswalu Dam, or they've gone west into the block, but we didn't have any tracks that side. But they have been trying to be very sneaky. So they came from Tswalu Dam, they went on to the other side of Western Quarantine. They slept just there by the bush bright, and the tracks looked like they either went that way, the dam, or through the drainage back to the west. We'll see. We'll see now. If they didn't go back to the dam, then they definitely went that way. It's a law of averages. You've always got to take a guess sometimes. And a whole herd of buffalo in an area all over the road, to get the exact direction that they went to, it's not very easy. So we left our scrub here. Something had dragged it about 50 meters in the road, dragged it the whole side of its leg here. The fur had been rubbed off from that dragging. But there were some hyena tracks, there was a genet track, but nothing that really indicated what might have killed it. So, and then it left it there. So I don't know what had killed the genet, but we left it lying, not the genet, the scrub bear, left it there on its own. Find them, everybody. They were lying down over there this morning. We probably drove past them. We went to the dam this morning, picked up on their tracks coming back. They bedded down on that side of Quarantine, and if I don't get their tracks here, well then they've gone straight through the drainage line there, and they didn't go on to Rebecca's or Zoe's road. So nothing yet, which means they've gone through that way. It's all right. Sometimes you have a 50% chance of getting it right, and we got it wrong. Morgan. I blame Morgan because I asked him where does he reckon, even though I was already turning towards the dam, and he said the dam, and I said good call. That looks like it was a bad call. So I'll show you what it looks like when you find where a herd of buffalo has been bedding down. It's actually a very, very easy sort of scenario to interpret. If you've ever owned cattle or spent time on a cattle farm where there's a kraal, it kind of looks very much like that, really. There's lots of dung, lots of tracks, lots of yellow patches from the urine. Sorry, Morgan. So here we start getting some dung over here in the road. They all came through, milling around this whole area here. You can see what I mean by the yellow patches and the dung. Jacqueline, the grass here on quarantine actually gets managed. There's lots of areas in the Sabi Sands that get mowed to facilitate and to keep these open areas. Bush encroachment is a real deal. The problem is that water has been put in all over the Sabi Sands. So what that leads to is bush density, bush densification. And they want to maintain certain habitats, and an open habitat is a habitat that is being lost in the Sabi Sands. So many of the reserves in the Sabi Sands physically mow the lawn. It is a practice that's been going on for quite some time. Let's carry on there, Morgan. Let's go track these buffalo. Oh. That's a gear. Okay, so milling around, all over here. You'll see the tracks are everywhere, and then it gets quite difficult. You know, it's either they went that way or they went that way. And now that we're here and we know they haven't gone that way, it's easy to say, oh, they must have gone that way. But in the moment, considering I drove that road there was no buffalo activity on that road, which means they've kept in this drainage line. And they're heading up towards that band of terminalias over there. I don't think they've gone far. They're probably heading towards Arathusa's Red Dam, because that's what they do. They wake up and they slowly start moving towards the dam. And then they bed down and they go towards the dam. It's what they do. It's their behavior. It's getting quite warm. It might be all these layers I'm wearing. So no more tracks in the road, which means they've gone 50%. KB, well, yesterday, Darby and I found another buffalo bull while we went live, and he was in a little mud wallow, and he had a very badly injured eye, and he actually gave us a bit of a rev, gave us a bit of a charge and ran off. It's something that lone buffalo bulls can do if they're injured. It's what makes them so dangerous, or potentially dangerous, is the fact that they're injured. They're grumpy anyway, and now they're injured. So thankfully, that's the first time I've ever had a male buffalo run towards us. But I've had herds many times run towards us, but it's more of an inquisitive, nose in the air sort of feeling. But it still makes your body respond in certain ways. You know, there's no joking around with a buffalo. No joking around. Okay, last chance to find them. I often talk about buffalo being the easiest of the large animals to find, and it's true. But sometimes you just pick the wrong road. And this morning I've picked the wrong road 3 times, so it's all right. Law of averages, eventually we'll narrow it down. Sometimes you pick the right road first. Let's see if we can get these little fellas on camera. They're not easy to get on camera. Oh, hello. Oh! You still got them, just through there. And there they go. And so shall we. next time you come back to us, we will hopefully have some buffalo. And while we do that, we send you over to Marcus, who's also bumbling around.
Good luck to Steve finding those buffaloes. And we are driving in this dry riverbed, heading towards the western parts of our reserve. So we didn't really hear any updates, but we thought it was well worth us driving the site, seeing if maybe we'll be lucky possibly finding some leopards, because I mentioned that it is now a bit hot, so most of these predators won't be really moving. And here along the banks of the riverbed, there are some nice big trees that has got good shade that these leopards might be interested in. So while driving in this riverbed, we'll just be scanning the banks to see if we might be lucky finding this leopard or even any other interesting animals for that matter. Oh yeah, you never really know. As long as you're still out here in the bush, everything is a possibility. You can't really rule anything out, excuse me. Sorry, can you repeat that question for me? If I got that correctly, Simon would like to know how deep is the water underneath the sand. I don't really know, Simon. However, there are some stretch or parts of this riverbed that we have seen some elephants digging for water. So I would say from ground down, they get the water roughly in 20-30 meters going down, if that answers your question. But yeah, we have had some good rains earlier, a couple of months ago, so I think this sand will be saturated with water to an extent that if it can rain, or it might rain now, the water might start flowing sooner than it would normally when this riverbed is dry. So it is still saturated. So like I would say about 20-30 centimeters going down, you will be able to find some water. So yeah, we'll just keep going at it, hoping to find just keep driving on this riverbed, see whatever the riverbed will surprise us with, and we will go Juma with Lauren, see what she has for us.
We found them. Yes, Talamati Pride. All of them, including, I think it's Mr. Darkmane. Now, we're in a bit of a tricky signal patch, but that's okay. We've just been working it, maneuvering, and we've finally got signal, which means we're not going to move the car too much, so the view might not be the best, but it's still, we've managed to catch up with the Talamati Pride. They're on Bufosuk, they're on Hunter's Road. I know that some of you like to know the location of the animals, and they're all here. From what I can see, we've managed to count 15 tawny bodies. Someone's limping, one of the sub-adults is limping. That was a little bit sad to see, but lions are incredibly resilient and robust and strong. It's really good to see them. But as I mentioned earlier when we were looking at the tawny eagle, the sun was bursting through. Well, it's burst through. It's fully burst through, and now it's rather hot. It gets to that time in the morning where it's really, really hot, and I imagine all of our gorgeous tawny kitties are going to go flat. It's amazing the shift that can happen in 1 year. I would say we spend more time with the Talamatis now than we do the Nkuhumas. Would you agree, Davy? Yeah, he agrees. He does. And I think just due to the natural shifting in territory which happens, the Talamatis could be considered as our main dominant pride in the areas that we traverse now. Now, a territory is never static, and it's not going to stay the same throughout the animal or the social group's lifetime. It's going to move. Everything's constantly changing. The climate, the resources. You can see one through the quarry fish, okay. Ah, we see you. Would you look at that? Nice one, Davy. That's very sweet. Probably thinks we can't see them, but we can. But yes, sorry, territories will constantly shift, constantly move to meet the needs of the individual or the group. Sorry, Jared, one more time with that question. I think it's from Hector. Nectar, like from a flower, nectar. That's better than Hector. Cubs, no. Sub-adults, yes. So there's 5 adult lionesses, which is really not that many. Normally always accompanied by an adult male from the Avoca Coalition. It's normally dark mane. And then there are 9 sub-adults. 6 of these sub-adults are females, 3 are males. So the sub-adults are getting big, so they're definitely not classified as cubs anymore, and they don't even look like cubs. They're going through that sort of awkward phase, shall we say, and they're definitely classified as sub-adults. So the fact that there are 6 female sub-adults is a good thing for the Talamati pride. It's going to add to the pool of females. These 6 will not disperse. Normally, females don't disperse and don't leave. Prides can break away. If they get too big, it becomes unsustainable. So just like a pack of wild dogs, just like a herd of elephants, a pride of lions, once there are too many, they're all related and they can still sort of all act as a pride, but it becomes unsustainable. Too many mouths to feed, too many individuals to keep happy. So breakaway prides can happen where they split. There's still a connection between the 2 prides, but it's just better off that they start again. So generally speaking, the females do not disperse, so the 6 sub-adults will add to the pool of females, and that, of course, will make 11 females in total. That will be quite a pride. Whereas the 3 male sub-adults will disperse. They most likely will form a coalition together. A coalition of males can be made up of complete strangers or relatives. But if you're in a coalition with your relatives, be it brothers, be it cousins, that's a bit more beneficial for you because you can actually reproduce by proxy. You might not get the chance to mate with that lady. She maybe doesn't like you. But if she mates with your brother, it's still your bloodline. It's still your genes. So it's still more beneficial for you than if she mates with a complete stranger. So we could have our very own band of lions from the Talamati coalition. But at this stage, there are still very much sub-adults.
okay. Took us a while to find these guys, so we're just going to sit here and watch our beautiful Talamati pride.
In preparation for our 14th birthday, we will be lighting up a fire and heading on a special journey down memory lane. Join Lauren and Steve on the 11th of April for a sentimental look through the archives.
The missing cubs have arrived! Holy moly, everyone, this is incredible stuff.
Oh my goodness, everyone. Oh, there's two.
Who better to have as special guests than the Wild Earth co-founders Emily and Graham Wallington. They'll be answering questions about Wild Earth's fascinating journey since its launch in 2007. Following many requests, we've decided to make this event available to everyone, not just explorers. You do, however, need to be registered on the wildearth.tv website. Join us straight after the sunset drive on the 11th of April for what promises to be a remarkable evening.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the
We haven't moved the car. I'm too nervous to move the car in case our signal drops. But going back to that earlier point, male lions, a band of lions, a coalition, will form lifelong alliances with one another. And it can be from anywhere really to 1 to 8 lions. And it's not out of any sort of fraternal good or, hey bro, let's be bros. It's really out of having no choice. You must band up with other male lions in order to maximize your own chances for reproducing. If you're a single lion, you're not going to get the chance to be territorial or to take over the dominance of any prides. So you need to sort of team up. You need to have a joint effort in order to be a successful male coalition, in order to sort of be in control of the female prides and then get to mate with all the lionesses, which maximizes your own chances at having successful reproduction and then continuing your own bloodline. So a male lion's reproductive success depends directly on how well his coalition can sort of withstand challenges from outside. No, sorry. Bless me. I think another one's coming. Ah, there you go. 3 sneezes. Apologies. So basically, male lions display their greatest capacity for teamwork while ousting invaders together. And that's exactly why they form a coalition. There's no sort of fraternal grid there. But they say that these partnerships that they form, if it's all non-relatives, if it's all strangers that just join up and they're like, hey guys, yep, we need to make a coalition, let's do this, They will never really grow larger than 3. That's the average number. When you get coalitions of males between 4 and 8, I think there's even been one recorded of 9 males, they're normally always composed of close relatives, and that goes back to what I'm saying. You can reproduce by proxy. So the bigger the coalition, the more territory you can have, and the more females you can have within your territory, and then more mating rights. You can only do that if the coalition is bigger. If the coalition is bigger and it's all your brothers and cousins and all your relatives, that's absolutely fine because it's still part of your bloodline. But if it's all strangers and you have a coalition of 8, then that's far too much competition. You may never get to mate with the ladies. Maybe the stronger males in the coalition will. And therefore, it wouldn't make much sense to have such a big coalition of strangers and non-relatives. It's all about genetic self-preservation, really, when it comes down to it. And weighing the odds of gaining access to a pride of lionesses against those of actually fathering the offspring. At the end of the day, you want to father the offspring. You want all the cubs in that pride to be yours. Okay, we're going to sit here at the sun, and you guys are going to go across to Steve.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, we found where a number of buffalo crossed Triple M directly towards the west, towards Red Dam. And we just had 5 buffalo bulls just turn around and come and give us a bit of a show. It's almost the behavior that these animals do when they've been hunted. So there are definitely lion tracks there. And those buffalo. I promised we had buffalo. 4 boys came back, have gone back into Juma. So I've almost no doubt that there's a lion pride here by Red Dam hunting that herd. Where these boys were looking at us indicates that that's fragmentation has happened, you know, when a herd moves and moves and these ones run there, they run there. It didn't look like a huge number of buffalo crossed though, so maybe the whole herd hasn't crossed. We're going to come around again and maybe they're bedding down on Juma's side. Only a handful. They don't always have torn ears. The older they get though, the more torn they become, and I challenge you to run it at about your chest height through the bushes here at full steam through the thickets and come out with scratches. There are many spiny and sharp plants out here that rip, cut. And while a buffalo is willing to sacrifice a little scratch ear for its life. Okay, so we're coming all the way down the boundary. We had line tracks on the boundary that went in towards where those buffalo were. And well, we're going to come around and see if we can catch up with his buff. But it sounds like JP is enjoying a quiet moment at a waterhole. Success. We have found the buffaloes. Now I'm just going to try and illustrate for you if I can find my Koki pen. I don't know where my Koki pen is. It's a whiteboard marker for those of you who don't know what a Koki pen is. It's fine, I will demonstrate it with some visuals. So I've got a map here. I'm just going to indicate to you on the map where we had the tracks this morning. Are you with me, Morgan? So I don't have a working monitor this morning. Okay, so we had the tracks here, and they cut straight through the block over here. And then we followed up. We went in the wrong direction. They did this, went straight up there. That's where they bedded down. They came all the way through like this, followed the drainage line. Came like that again, went through over there, into this area here, and now we find ourselves right over there. So their general direction was always the same, but they followed the drainage line. They followed the depth of the grassland. So it's like if you use a lawnmower, you don't go on the same path all the time. You have to keep moving, and that is what these buffalo are doing. They're moving in the areas that the food is more available. Okay, I'm going to take the map away. So although they have been in Juma for a couple of days now, they'll move in slightly different sort of trajectory because they've been just left or just right of that position before. So to walk in the exact same spot doesn't make sense because they've already mowed that lawn. They're a very handsome bunch of buffs, and they're a little bit jumpy. I reckon they did encounter lions at some point. Now they seem to be relaxing again. But they sure have given us a little bit of a run around. But it just goes to show that they can move, and they do start early. And it's probably getting to the point where they're going to be bedding down again as the heat starts to sort of generate. And where are they going to go and drink? Probably south of our boundary, the way they were headed. I don't know what water is there. Probably somewhere on Hoffman's. Or they might be doing a loop back to Treehouse. Not certain, hard to say, but good to check the watering holes this afternoon. And the tracks on the western boundary are not the Telematis, it must be the Nkuhuma Pride. So I'll be very excited to see them come back onto the property. It's been too long since I've seen the Nkuhumas. They need to come before the 15th, please. This is a very big herd, everybody. It's at least 100. Lots of animals. That's why when I say buffalo should not be the hardest to track. They leave a lot of dung, a lot of tracks, a lot of activity behind them. Sometimes, though, they don't move in straight lines. It's okay if they want. You're still all right there, Morgan? Yep. Good. Actually, they are very fat and sassy. They are in very good condition. The felt is in such good condition at the moment. They're looking very fit. When they are fit like this, they become very difficult for buffalo should I say for lion, to hunt. They're strong, there's no weakness. The females will defend their calves with everything they've got, and they've got a lot to give. The males will defend the herd against lion. They're in fine condition, strong, physical. Let's just move up over here, get another view. Okay, well, Talamati Pride, I believe, like to hunt buffalo, but I've never seen them do so.
You will not believe it. Just after you left our feed last time, every single member, including Darkmane, got up and ran. I've never seen Darkmane run before, ever, in my career here. They heard something and they just ran. We've tried to follow them into the block, but it's a very thick block. So we've managed to stay with these two lionesses, but I don't know what they heard. Darkmane running was rather entertaining. He's definitely not the most elegant runner. But I think Steve's on Philemon's cut line, which is really far from where we are right now, but I don't know what they heard. I've never seen a pride run like that altogether. It was really incredible. I'd like to try and keep up with them for as long as I can. If they keep heading south and the buffaloes keep heading north, then they may meet in the middle. It's nice to see active lions. And as we progress into winter, we probably will see lions being active a lot more during the day, just due to the temperature difference. I wonder if we'll be able to make it through this block. It could get a little bit hairy, especially with Wendy's temperamental behavior right now. Wendy keeps breaking down on us. It was rather entertaining when she wouldn't start in the Shasha sighting yesterday. But I think we'll try. Simone, we definitely don't. I don't know of any collared lions in the Sabi Sands. There are collared lions in various parts of the world, from, I think, the Masai Mara. There's even a few collared lions in the Ugab River in Namibia that roam the Skeleton Coast. That's a really, really fascinating story. But in the Sabi Sands, I don't think there's any collared lions. I mean, to be perfectly honest, you can, if you were to do research on lion prides in the Sabi Sands, due to the environment here, the location, the topography, you probably could follow the lion pride day in and day out. Therefore, you wouldn't really need to collar them. So no, in the Sabi Sands, Simone, I don't believe there's any collared lions. The only animal that wears a collar that I know of is a wild dog. From the Pungwe pack.
trying to think if we can navigate round here to try and see if we can see where everyone else ran off to. Tyler, yes, I believe they do. At least at the time of the breakaway. They'll recognise each other's scent, without a doubt. Visually, I don't believe so. We had this discussion last night. But I believe they'll recognise each other's scent. But of course, once the lionesses that they know pass away and the other generations sort of get older, I don't believe then they would start to recognise the breakaway pride as relatives. But at the point of the breakaway, yes, the individuals that they know, they will. But it'll all be through scent and understanding a unique chemical code. Okay. Okay, Davi's telling me to reverse here. Okay, we're gonna try and hopefully we make it, and you guys are gonna head back across the street.
Welcome back to the buffalo, everybody. Are they looking at us? We are the tourists. No, they are the tourists. Sometimes you're not sure. It's definitely getting very warm, and I'm sure these fellas are going to find a nice shady spot to rest very soon. These ones in front already moving into the shade. Wouldn't be surprised if they start to tuck their legs underneath and start to sit down. Shade is a hot commodity. Well, Claire, in general, they do live differently from a life point of view due to the fact that the females don't leave the herd. They stay in the herd until they're old and weak, whereas the males get to a certain age, normally about 10, and they just can't deal with the pressures that go with being a dominant male in a herd, and then groups of old males will all leave. So then they can still survive for a couple of years in the wild, but they are generally the ones that get picked off one by one by lions. Obviously a herd of buffalo as well. Older females at the back get picked off by lions, as do calves, but generally the big and strong individuals in the buffalo herd evade predation at a younger age. Not always the case, but the herd normally stands up for those who are dominant, those who are fit and strong. So you could say females could live up to 15, 16, maybe even 17 in the herd, whereas a male that's 10, 11, 12, it's a good job. Obviously they could live longer than that. There are exceptions. In areas of low lion density perhaps, bulls like that could really just slip under the radar for quite some time. Bella, no, they're not territorial. They move to very large home ranges, reliant on food and water, moving in relation to resources. The males are highly sort of dominant within the herd. Males will have dominant hierarchies between themselves for rights to mate, and then groups of males actually get displaced from buffalo herds. And then other groups of males that have been away from the herd building up condition will move in. As this constant backwards and forwards flow of young, strong, fit buffalo bulls that gain condition away from the herd and then lose condition while in the herd. When you're in the herd, there's lots of pressure, there's lots of feeding. The females get a lot of the good feeding, so you don't get optimum grazing. To maintain a big bull's condition, he needs to sometimes just go out of the herd to do so. But there is a social hierarchy amongst the females. The females essentially lead the way. Going down. Ah, there we go. That's one. Definitely a hierarchy of females, and the high-ranking females are normally in the middle and in the front with their calves. And the older females and low-ranking females hang at the back with their calves, and they also get the worst of the feeding. You can imagine following a lawnmower service. Those at the front get the optimum feeding, and those towards the back get the scraps. The trampled grass, flattened grass. The grass left behind. Lucas, I'm sure they probably do. I haven't seen a buffalo eating a bone. They definitely will do soil and will lick salt licks. I've never physically seen a buffalo myself eating bone, but the youngsters probably eat a little bit of dung in the beginning, early on in life, to get the necessary gut enzymes. But osteophagy, those of you who don't know what it's called, it's the eating of bone. A number of animals will do so, especially pregnant females, to gain some extra calcium. This one on the left is going down. You ready? Oh, it's gone. Last man standing.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Tswalu. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Tswalu's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a Wild Earth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
Everybody, well, we decided to leave the buffalo as there was no shade and we were getting rather hot. Cooking in the sunshine. The only shade available the buffalo are taking up, which is perfectly fine. We've got other places to go and get some shade at. But a lovely little run around this morning. I'm glad that they are on Juma. It'd be nice to go and see where they head to this afternoon. I'll probably get up in the next few hours and head towards water. And as far as I'm aware, the closest water is Treehouse. But we will see. They might know something better than I do. I don't know the Arethusa property or Hoffman's property at all. I probably have 4 cups of coffee, but they're not very big cups. Say five tablespoons of coffee for the whole morning, which is not bad. I've still actually got some here that I haven't finished. I'll have that at breakfast. Morgan has started bringing his own coffee as well now. So I used to make this whole flask and share it. And now you get clever cam ops like Morgan who brings his own coffee, then I've got to drink it all myself. It's all right. We'll get through it. Morgan, won't we? We will. We will. Only good coffee though. Plunger coffee. Plunger coffee is the way. We don't have a machine out here to make machine coffee, otherwise that would be wonderful, but it's difficult to fill up a flask with a machine. Oh, sorry, Mr. Impala. Jerome, I try not to. I cover myself in sun cream, and I normally wear long sleeve shirts, but the 2 long sleeve shirts I used to own got damaged with an iron, and so I don't have them anymore, so I'm now wearing short sleeve shirts. But I'm going to invest again because longevity in the sun, you need to cover up. It's just the way it is, you know. We do damage to ourselves, and you only know about it later on in life. But I'm always covering myself with sun cream. It's very important. Very important, boys and girls. Cover up, use sun cream. Stay out of the hottest times of the day and find shade. Very helpful. We were just cooking there. Absolute cooking. We sat there for 4 minutes, I think more. It would have melted. We can't have Morgan melting now. What we can do though is show you something that looks like a buffalo, but is not. Oh! Well, everybody, we hope you've enjoyed this morning's sunrise safari. It went from a very misty, overcast morning to now the sun has burnt off and it is absolutely cooking. So we look forward to hosting you again this afternoon at the Sunset Safari. Same time, same place from all of the locations. We do thank you for your questions and for your comments. We look forward to seeing you later. Have a wonderful day further. Enjoy your Friday. Have a beautiful afternoon. Till then, good day and goodbye.